Hi, Ashley.
Hey, Robin. I'm
How are
so
you?
excited about today.
I am too. I am too. Today we are interviewing Julie Stackhouse, who is an experienced USA Track and Field Levels I, 2, and 3 certified coach with a bachelor's and master's degree in health and exercise science from Furman University, where she was an accomplished track and cross-country athlete. She coached at Division I programs across the country for over a decade before making personal training and wellness coaching a full-time pursuit. She has a passion to help athletes of all ages reach their potential. So that's one part, but she is also a Brooks ambassador and NCHSSA Track and Field Cross Country Hall of Fame athlete. And it goes on and on and on and on. And she is the top Masters female in 2020. Welcome to
That's
Julie
awesome.
Stackhouse.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Gosh, I was trying to count the number of acronyms in there and also just the amount of bullet points. That's awesome.
What an honor to have you on.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to be here as well. Looking forward to talking with you guys.
Good. So our listeners know that one of our previous interviewees, Matt Scaletti, was doing 29029. And the reason that I caught up with Julie is because I am a faithful watcher of 29029. Ashley and I had a mutual friend do it in 2019 and then in 2021. He was at Idaho with you, Julie.
Okay.
And I was watching the leaderboard and all the different people who were ascending so quickly. And Julie Stackhouse came to mind. I thought, oh, I'll just see if she's on Instagram. Sure enough. And she said, oh, I just finished ascent 4 or ascent 5. And oh, yep, I'm still making it under 55 minutes. I was like, that doesn't even.
Per ascent?
Yeah.
Oh
ascent,
my gosh.
like, that doesn't even equate to normal
No.
times that I was watching in 2019. Well, then I just kept watching Julie throughout the day and I followed her on Instagram, obviously, and watching you ascent Idaho, Snow Basin, no, Sun Valley.
Sun Valley.
Was amazing. And you had a smile on your face the whole time. You were ripping up that hill. I even sent you a couple of questions and you answered them. And I'm thinking, she doesn't know me from anybody. How is she answering my questions? You were amazing, but you didn't get there overnight. Can you tell us your journey and where you started and where you came from and all of your running?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I guess since you started with the mountain, 29029, I'll start there and kind of backtrack. But I really, like a lot of people throughout the pandemic, a lot of if you're a runner or any type of endurance athlete or just an athlete in general, right, you were stripped of all of these opportunities and your goals and even maybe your purpose, your greater purpose and things that you were working towards. And like a lot of people, you could feel bad being disappointed about those things because there were so many bigger things going on in the world, right, with much larger ramifications. But at the same time, those were still losses, whatever those were in your life that was important to you. And so, I've since that time learned that a lot of elite athletes and just athletes in general, even age group athletes felt this way, the same way that I was feeling, which was just really looking for something to get me outside of my comfort zone again, to work towards, and really just honestly get out and connect with other people again. And I had done that throughout the years. So now backtracking a little bit, in a really competitive race setting environment, starting at track in my early years, honestly, just to get in shape for basketball and other sports, team sports that I played. So I was not one of those that was just like only a runner. I wanted to do everything. I loved everything. But it became very apparent at a very young age that there was a future in running for me. And so taking it from the track at a young age, all the way through college, running at Clemson and then Furman universities, and then coaching there for a little while, and then competing post-collegiately on the roads. So when I moved to Jacksonville, Florida, we have a really huge road racing scene here. And so really what it was is, yeah, every year, First Place Sports hosts the annual National 15K Championships, which is the Gate River Run for USA Track and Field. So that draws from Olympians to locals galore. It's just a really large race. And so, you know, when I moved here to coach initially at the University of North Florida, I just got really into the road racing scene, because that was where I was able to keep competing and, you know, kind of see what I could do at the next level. So then fast forward, you know, actually it was the weekend after the US Olympic trials in the marathon in Atlanta that everything started closing, right? Everyone can remember that exact date, you know, March 15th. I hear March 15th, 16th, 17th, right in that range, but you can all remember where we were on that day. And so I just found 29029 Everesting. I knew about it through a mutual friend, Jesse Itzler, and I just reached out to him and I said, are there any spots left? And as happens, sometimes last minute, you know, people can't make it or there are cancellations. So I was just lucky to get a last minute spot. I truthfully did not, I would definitely say that I did not overtrain for that event, because I didn't even know that I was going to be doing it until kind of like a month out. And so I just made this decision to go on this epic road trip where going to Sun Valley, driving from Florida to Sun Valley was part of it. And then ultimately culminating out at the Olympic trials for track in Eugene, Oregon, and a whole lot in between. But so Sun Valley was sort of like my, just this event, like a life-changing event that was driving me forward during what was a difficult time for a lot of us, I think. And so, so when I did get to that mountain, for you to say I was running these, well, it wasn't really running, but very fast hiking. That's what all my friends know me as, the runner, right? So they're like, so I don't understand, you were just hiking really fast. And I'm like, well, it's really steep. It's at altitude. It's like 2,000 feet per climb, and still 24 miles for the entire event itself. So, but anyway, so if it looked that way out on the mountain, it's because I really was, you know, impassioned to be there, fired up to have a chance to, they say it's not a race, but to really just kind of like put on my competitive shoes again and get out there. And so I think what you were seeing on the mountain was the result of what a lot of us felt during that, you know, almost 2-year period going into that, and just being really grateful, seriously, to be out there with so many other people in a different realm for me. Still an endurance event, right? And I can't really compare it to others that I've done before. It's way different than a marathon, way different than an ultra even. But just to be really excited to be out there. And my goal really was to do the event in such a way that it encouraged other people in the process.
It absolutely encouraged other people in the process, myself included. So I will be at Stratton 2022. Super excited.
Yes. Well, I'm coaching now, so I'll be there. Yeah. One of my clients I was running with today was joking that they're going to start calling me Sherpa from now on, because I was the Sherpa role, which is basically just the pace setter, you know, but we're on a mountain, so Sherpa. So, so it's funny, they said they're going to start calling me that now, but no, I will not carry all of your gear for you. Although I did carry a woman's pack, Jody, who was last but not least finished her at Stratton just recently. And I did take her pack from her for the last lap, because we needed every little bit to get up that mountain before the 6 p.m. deadline. And honestly, this time before the storm was rolling in. So we were racing the clock, Chris, hot, and the weather.
And Ashley is considering coming to volunteer.
Yeah,
at 29029.
I'd have to actually do a lot of training, and I'm terrible. I love hiking, but I don't know that I could do that for 24 miles.
I highly recommend the volunteering, because a lot of the volunteers, this is what's really unique about that event. people stay involved. So a lot of the volunteers have participated in another event. So they get it, what it's about. They understand the enthusiasm to bring. They know what the dark hours look like and how to motivate people. And so it's really neat that, it's also a community. And that's one thing that I really love. I started in as a participant, and now I'm embedded in the community, and I love that.
That's at least one thing that I've heard about it, from me and Robin's mutual friend. And then surrounding, like you said, the community. I hear that the people are just the best people there. And I just don't know how you can't leave a place like that not being inspired and fired up and just going after whatever goal you may have. So I know that's kind of also one of the reasons to volunteer is like, there's just nothing like being around amazing people, especially I've noticed too, that everyone's just so happy there. And Robin and I can attest this. We just love being around like very happy, positive people.
Yeah. Who are doing really hard things, right?
Really cool and hard things.
You're doing really, really hard things, but you're in great company while you're doing it. And that's for me something that's been really unique about this event is yes, racing can be like that too, especially trail racing. I think that's more of a communal kind of scene from what I've been learning, kind of dipping my toe in that world lately. But it's just so supportive, and people understand that everyone comes there for a reason. And maybe that reason is just literally to test your limits and see how fast you can do Everest in the weekend. But for a lot of people, it's personal. I use Jody as an example, but she wouldn't mind me sharing that she had a very personal cause she was finishing for. And so finishing that last lap and getting that red hat for her meant a lot more than just how fast did she do it in, or did she get all 17 ascents for Stratton Mountain. So that's the part of it for me that gives me chills to think about it, because you feel that whether you're a participant, a coach, a spectator, or volunteer out there, is that everybody wants everyone else to succeed. And so I think that's one thing that is really unique about it.
It's grown so much too. I mean, over the year, how fast did yours sell out, Robin? In like couple hours, right?
50 minutes.
50 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It's so exciting.
All the events are sold out for next year. That said, I do think there's a wait list. Things always come up. But they sold out really quickly. So yeah, I think it's just that, right? People want to be a part of something that's special and unique like that, and hard. But to encourage you, if you did come out and volunteer, you would see that, just what I said, there's so many stories out there on the mountain, and that the best part is you don't have to do it alone. So I can honestly assure you the pace is not that fast. I can tell you, having Sherpa'd, and this is, I know when I say the pace is not too fast, people are like, come on, that's, your fast is still a different level. But really, the pace is not that fast. It's just a matter of, handling your fueling well in the day, having a good plan, not taking breaks that are too long, not going into the Normatec boots or the recovery lounge or the massages for too long. It's also just really like executing a really good plan. And then also, weather can factor into that, right? Like Stratton, we had times of beautiful fall weather to rain, to wind, to back to beautiful weather again. I mean, it's so you also, have to like factor the unknown in, which is pretty fun. But something that you said about a lot of people smiling out on the mountain despite doing something really hard, I think recently they just sent out the photos from Stratton, and I was looking at them, and someone said, "You're smiling in every picture." And I'm like, and I didn't know the camera was there. That's what's neat, is that it's literally just, you're in your element doing what you love, and you realize you're out there smiling as you're talking to people along the way doing it.
I did notice that. And talking about Jody and clients, that's something else, getting off of 29029 a little bit and going really to the core of you, or what I've seen the essence of Julie from when I started following you back in June, was your clients are, what I see is that your clients are the most important thing to you. You want all of your clients to achieve their best, to do their best. You don't specifically talk about your clients, but I can tell that your heart is in it. And I can see your 7 o'clock runs with your client group. On your pages, you talk about anybody. It doesn't matter what age you are. You can help them. You can help them live their optimal life. You can help them get to where they want to achieve. And I think that's what sets you apart from other people as well, is that you have that wide range, that you're willing to help anybody. And not everybody is. Some people at you, I would say at your level, because you're elite, they don't cater to everybody, but you just have such a huge heart, Julie, and you're there to help every single person. It doesn't matter whether they're under your training or not. I just feel that if I were to say, which I am going to say, but I don't really, we can talk about this later. I struggle to get past more than 4.0, which is most people's walking speed on a treadmill jogging. But I know that if I worked with you, I could get there. Ashley is I think she's a good runner. Ashley could work with you, you could get her there. You could work with an 80-year-old, you could work with a 17-year-old, a 16-year-old wanting to do better in high school. You are just, it's your heart. Your heart.
Thank you for saying that. I'm as you're saying all those things, it's very, very flattering, but it is true that no one's ever said it quite like that before, that it's my heart. I am sharing my heart with everyone whom I encounter, whether that's on the mountain or that I have the fortune to coach. It has been my life's passion. And I think that's what I realize now. I guess growing up, what you know is normal for you, right? So I don't realize until now that it's more abnormal that I've been running my entire life, as you said, at a pretty high level, and really until the pandemic. But now I really do get to share that with so many different people. I mean, it's exactly what you said. I could make a list right now, but it's from the 6th grader who's just getting started, who is so excited talking to her parents on the drive on the way home after our first session, when she was nervous coming in because she didn't know what to expect, and then realizes she's a runner and she's great. And for me, knowing that like she can take that as far as she wants to, and knowing that I get to have a small role in hopefully making sure, she stays healthy and enjoys it, because it really can be a lifelong sport. That's what I've seen. I've seen it literally take me around the world and meet more people than I could count, that I now call my friends. But to the age group athlete that I have, as you mentioned, I don't know that I have anyone that's 80, but we did encounter some, I think there were 80, a couple in Utah who were out hiking the mountain, and they did a lot more than a lot of people. They didn't quite finish. I wish I could remember their names right now, but
No, but was his name Fred?
Fred and Mary. Yes. Yeah, I believe so.
Yes,
and
I watched 29/29 updates.
Yeah, so I had the privilege of sharing a gondola with them, and just their son had done the event, and they were like, "We want to do it. we want to go cheer. We want to do it." Yeah, and they were awesome, and everybody loved them. And I think that's the point, is everyone, to me, who comes into the sport, just like the mountain, might come for different reasons. And at different points in their life. And what I see is I'm more aware of now, at least, I think, having been through these last couple of years, all of us collectively, and then having been through some tough things myself, is I see what it can do for people. And that goes, it sounds cheesy, but it goes so far beyond just the time that you can run or the distance that you can achieve, which is still really important. But it really can be just so instrumental in being just such a positive outlet for, the youth still learning their confidence and what they're good at, and social setting of it all too. To just, like my team here locally, they support each other on the weekends, whether that's their long run. Everybody jokes here this weekend that a big nor'easter is coming. Like, it's for Florida, it just means it's gonna be breezy. It's not gonna be like perfect weather. But everyone's like, "Oh no, it's the terrible weather coming," and they're just so excited to get together as a group and run, and they support each other at their races. And to me, that's been the really fun part, is to know that I've had a role in, just by doing what I love, getting to help bring together all these people that walk or run into it for different reasons, but they love it too. And it's just neat. It's really special, so I think I heard someone say once, where your passion and your purpose align, you can have real change, affect real change. And I've been lucky to get to live that out by virtue of what I love to do. My heart, as you would say.
Mhm. Your heart shines through Instagram.
Oh,
Thanks. And really, that's something I really had to learn to use it to tell a story. Honestly, that kind of started with Idaho, the Sun Valley. Is I specifically, when I left on that trip, I bought the mini phone because I wanted to be able to. I never would run with my phone before, have it on me. I really like to be present when I'm somewhere, like be there. As Jesse would say, be where your feet are. But I wanted to, as I went on this journey, be able to share it with people and share it in such a way as not look what I'm doing today, but like, look what you can do if
Mhm.
you just will step outside of your door and your comfort zone a little bit too. It doesn't have to be hiking Everest. It might be. It doesn't have to be a cross country road trip. It might be. But something that's important to you that gets you excited and gets you out of bed on the mornings the nor'easter is coming, or actual snow, or whatever, it's like, and then those connections with other people that really do come through unique opportunities like that, in just a way that it's like when you leave 29, you feel like you've known people for a lot longer than 36 hours.
I bet. Something Ashley and I really bonded on when we first met is I never got the impression that you were bragging ever. Never on any of your Instagram posts, never on anything. And that's Ashley and I like the humble, just telling a real story and not. There are some Instagram people out there that I would consider pretty big braggers. You've never been one of those people. So it must come naturally to you just to tell your story.
Uh, wow. Thanks. I wouldn't say it comes naturally because I'm not like, I don't want to tell my age, but I'm not of the generation that like literally did grow up with a phone in my pocket. So I've had to learn, how to use it for good.
Yeah.
And the way it was phrased to me is use it to tell a story, your story. And that might mean some days are awesome and you're on top of the highest mountain in the world in record time. And again, now these are just, people that now are like I said, not just in my sphere, but becoming friends. And it's just been really neat. It's, a year ago, I was listening to podcasts of certain individuals, and now I'm going to go do a bike ride with them in California in January. It's just like, those are just the things where, I said this to someone recently is, sometimes we put limits on ourselves and we don't mean to do it. I think it's a safety thing sometimes, is right, as we don't want to be disappointed. We don't want others to be disappointed in us. And so sometimes I think, and sometimes it's just the fear of the unknown, right? Like, even though everybody thought, oh, I'm a great runner and this event's not running, and that I wouldn't think it was hard. It was hard. It was still, I'd never done anything for, that was even time-wise longer than an Ironman, which had been like the longest event I'd done prior to that. So, which was years ago. And I'd really trained for that, like hard. And there's altitude. I mean, and I did my thesis on that in grad school. So I fully respect altitude and the effects that can have. And there were, fluctuated in Idaho from 46 degrees in the morning to 96 degrees in the peak of the day. So all these factors, again, I fully respected that there was a lot of unknown. And so even I think people might look at the end result and say, well, I never had any doubt. That is not true. And so that's what that is unique about an event like that, is it will draw that out of you. It will draw out like what you're afraid of and having to tackle it head on, or, work as a team with someone else to figure out how to get through that.
So that was the
Unique.
next. Well, Colin O'Brady has done the high Everest literally quite a few times. You were standing on top of the mountain at 29:29 in record time.
Yeah, what's really funny is now that I'm coaching, I was in Vermont and I heard a group of people as I was coming up as the Sherpa, and they were talking about this girl who finished before the sun went down in Idaho. And I thought they were joking. Like, I thought they knew I was coming and they were saying it on purpose. I was like, that was me. And they just started laughing. They were like, that was you. And so I guess I've become a little bit of a legend on the mountain, but
Yes.
But the cool thing is really, like I said, that was a byproduct of just showing up and being me, and the way that I knew how to do something, which was like tackle it all out the best that I could. And that event was hard, and there were moments of doubt, but I didn't have to do it alone, and I definitely met so many great people through doing that it's one of the best things that I've done in my life.
It sounds, I mean, obviously, it sounds like community is just so big within this just sphere. For someone who's starting out, I mean, it sounds like it could be virtual or in person, but for someone who's starting out in running or Everesting, it could be anything like that. How do you go about networking? Is it Facebook, Instagram, or, I mean, I'm sure, how would you suggest someone who's just starting out find a
someone
community?
just starting out? Well, I think, one thing to decide is, what your goals are, and do you want to coach? Is it necessary to have a coach to reach those certain goals? For example, I'll have a number of people that will come to me and their big goal is Boston Marathon. They want to make it to the Boston Marathon.
Sure.
So that
Okay.
involves very specific parameters, right? And like I will have people tell me, especially now, because it's even harder to get into now, because now there are like backlog years of people like aiming to get in with these times. And so for a lot of people, that's a big goal. And so, potentially that might be one that requires some outside guidance. Whereas if it's just, wanting to finish your first 5K, or gosh, there's even a girl, Visa, and the last in Stratton that had not done a 5K or a 10K or anything before. Like 29029 was her first endurance event, and that was 29 miles. So, it can be done, but I think the question is, like, what are your goals? And then start to go from there, because there is a lot of support online. And then even locally, like one thing I say is just start at your local running store and go in and see if they have group runs. We do here. We have, I'm in a very big spread out city landmass wise. So we have 6 different running stores in town, all owned by the same couple. And their group runs almost every night of the week. And so, especially for new people moving into town or just getting started, they can get a lot of great information and just good community there. Or, there might be, like I do, I lead groups locally. That happens in a lot of places. The one thing I would caution is that one drawback of social media I can see is that, right, pros will even post glimpses of their workouts or even the specific workout. And I think it's very easy for people to just grab those and go, Shalane just ran 6 marathons in 7 weeks, or she's about to hit her 6th one now, New York this weekend. I remind people that has literally been her job since she was in college. That is like, just like anyone else would go to work or, put in however many hours a week at their job. She has done that for, like almost 30 years. So that's a different story, but that's the one pitfall that I see, is that people why that's very inspiring. Her story has inspired me too, to just get back out there, whether that's a podium spot or not, and just get back out there, and the joy of pushing yourself to do hard things again and realizing that you can, but not comparing too much to what other people are doing, whether that's your actual friend group or your virtual friend group. But just everything's so accessible now, and I think we have to be careful about doing that, because I think even then, when you do accomplish something great, it can be I didn't do what that person did, or and I just think that's tough. So that's the example of social media, and not such a positive light. I think just to be aware of that, to be cautious of that, because it's a very easy pitfall to fall, trap to fall into.
I will say, I agree with that. My mom and we both do the stock market and make plays. I haven't played the stock market in months, but we were talking about it today, and she said, "Oh, I did better than." And I said, "Please stop comparing yourself," or "I did worse than." And I said, "Please stop comparing yourself to other people. You are you. You need to do your own thing. You need to just do your own trading plan." So I completely agree. I try so hard not to compare myself. I try to compare myself to the person that I was yesterday. Sometimes I do well, sometimes I don't do well, but I try really hard, and Ashley and I have talked about too the social media, and some people get really down on it because they're sick and tired of looking at the glamorous lifestyle, and I just unfollow those people or don't follow those people, but I follow the people that give me a ton of inspiration.
It's
So,
yeah.
and you are one of them.
Oh, thank you. That makes me feel good because that's kind of it's still relatively a new skill I'm learning, like really sort of starting out in June. Yeah. Because I was pretty quiet during the pandemic as well. I do run for Brooks, and I had trouble posting run happy things when I wasn't feeling run happy. Right. So I had to learn that, you know, I saw this recently, actually, in a different podcast, but that let's see, actions change feelings, which change your thoughts, and or actions change thoughts, change your feelings. Yeah. So basically, that if you're kind of feeling stuck in a situation, like take action, and then those other things will start to change. And so that's what I started to do. I started like, hey, I'm going to try this out on my trip and take action, and try a new thing with Instagram. And so even like, I was recording in the gondola, like every 3 rides down, trying to keep everyone updated, which I later, heard like people were sort of following the progress of the day until I met up with Wes Schuler. And then from that point forward, we were engaged in like basically friendly battle for the rest of the time. So didn't have time to pull out my phone. I was just eating food, all the food on the gondola possible. But yeah, really back to what you were saying. I think the main thing is, now granted, as I'm saying this, I made a career out of literally like, how fast could the times be, winning races. I am fully aware that I built a career on that, but my advice to someone starting out would be, have really clear goals of what you want. And if you do need a coach, have a coach that aligns with those goals. And if not, find your support in your community, in your family. I know plenty of parents who run right with their kids on their bikes with them, or in the stroller if they're still too young, or whatever. All those things are like your support system. And then I would say, just for me personally, when I did have a lot of success, it was trusting the ones that were in the arena with me, trusting the ones whose voices were important in my life, whether that was my coach or my parents, or whomever it was, my teammates. But having that support system and really trusting, the few key people who are in those roles for you.
And when did you decide to start your own business?
That's a good question. So I had coached collegiately for 10 years all over. Let's see, I was at Furman for a while in Greenville, South Carolina, where I finished my master's. I was at University of North Florida, which is what brought me to Jacksonville. I was at the Air Force Academy out in Colorado Springs, and University of Virginia for a year as well. And then I moved back to Florida, really just because I was fortunate to coach at some of these great places and have such amazing experiences, but I would find myself missing the Jacksonville running scene a lot. I realized that I was becoming a part of that community, and that even though it felt like when I first moved here, when I was like 26, that it was a big city, I started to feel like it was a smaller town because of really the running community. And so I moved back and was like, okay, now what am I going to do? And I just had a number of parents who knew I was back in town, and, all the different places where I had coached, and either wanted to help their son or daughter potentially get a scholarship to run somewhere, or just do some extra work for even another sport, maybe even a basketball or football athlete that wanted to improve their 40 time, or their start mechanics, or their vertical jump. So I just started working with a number of different youth athletes locally, started a club, and then I started having a lot of parents ask me if I coach parents too. And so I always had this idea that I would like to have my own business someday, but it's daunting. It's just like with climbing a mountain, or taking on a big race you've never done before. It's daunting to think about, like, you just being you and the experience that you have, taking those next steps. And how do I grow it to, this vision that I have for it? And so I think for me, and I don't mean to say that lightly, like it wasn't a lot of hard work, like, but I think the thing is, when you're doing what you love, and you're taking a risk, like you won't let it fail, right? Like you just keep working like until it succeeds. And so I was just fortunate to have a lot of good people, and then they kept recommending other people. And so just, like I said, started to build this community here. And so that's really what's kept me in this area. Although clearly I do love to travel, and I missed that during that time span as well, like a lot of people. So it's been good to get back out there again and be at races again, and see people. Genuinely, the feel that I've noticed is people are just being excited to be out there again. Yes, it's still competitive, but it's different. It's like palpable almost of how excited people are to be just out doing what they love again.
So are you training for any particular race? Is there anything upcoming in
My
the next
question.
year? Yeah.
And it's funny, I get asked that a lot, because I think my clients, like, they've always known me to be training for something. And I can honestly say right now, there is nothing on the calendar at this point. We're like about to head into the holidays, and I have had it in years past where I've been training really hard through the holidays, because a lot of the big races, especially here with our weather in Florida, are coming up, like January, February, March. The big one that I used to would be like my peak race every year was the Gate River Run, the 15K, which I've now been doing sports broadcasting for, which is really fun. Like it's just a different lane for me. And so, yeah, I a little bit miss that feeling of like lining up with the elites on the day, but I realized I had so much to offer and to say about what that experience is like. And, relating that to locals that maybe are sitting at home thinking about running it next year, but they're not sure. And so, so the real answer to that question is I don't have anything yet, but because I also know, and which is also what I encourage my clients, that I'm at my best when I'm pushing myself towards something. I know that I want to find something for 2022, but I haven't identified what that is yet. My inclination is it's going to be something in the trail realm or the ultra realm. And I never thought I would say those words in the same sentence, because remember, I was a track runner, like a sprinter and a hurdler and a jumper. So if you would have ever said, oh, someday, I would have been like, those people are crazy. But then you climb a mountain and you're like, well, maybe that's not so crazy. But also what I was saying about comparing to other people, I don't want to compare to old Julie either. I've, grown and changed a lot through this time too. And I want that to also be expressed in my running. And so maybe it's that right now my role is more focused on others hitting their big goals, and I'll find something for myself. I don't know what that's going to be yet, but I imagine it might be in some cool trail or canyon somewhere. So stay tuned on that.
I do follow ultra runners, and I followed the Moab 240. I knew 2 people that were in Moab 240 this year, so that was interesting. I can barely, like I said, get past 4 miles an hour, which most people walk at 4 miles an hour, but I don't care. I will get there. I will continue to keep its consistency and baby steps.
Yeah.
But watching those ultra runners and those trail runners just seriously it's so inspiring to me.
It is. And again, it's a whole new realm for me. Like, I don't even know all the major players in it, right? Like I could spout off track stats for you and road racing stats, but trail's all new for me. And that's one thing that I like about it, because I don't find myself being a slave to my watch and whether or not I'm hitting certain times or getting discouraged that I'm not. It really is about, I've been a lot more focused on, someone called it recently, some friends of mine, a nature bath, but like being in, totally in nature. And again, this is different for me because I used to, right, like if you've been following my Instagrams, I post the sunrise every morning at the beach. I do actually have some friends that tell me, like some of them work overnight shifts in the hospital and they don't get to see the sunrise. And they're like, my sunrise I see is through your eyes every day. But that's an intention that I made that I didn't used to do that. I would be up early. I was probably running before the sun came up, but I wasn't taking 15 minutes to go out and watch it happen and be part of it and be enamored by it and be changed by it. And so that's something different for me now too. So I don't know if that's an age thing or a pandemic thing or just, trauma growth thing, but just learning that those things are really important. And it's at least, it's been for me a great way to start out my day. And I'm introducing my clients to it too. Like we've had a couple of group runs where I've made them go out to the beach and take a picture. Or sometimes at low tide you can run on the beach, which is nice. That's sort of our version of trails here, and some softer surfaces. But and several have said, I've lived here however many years, I've never seen this. I don't take the time to see this. So I try to, I guess what you're hearing is I'm trying to take those other things that I'm learning too and introduce those into the training as well.
I think that's been one really positive thing about COVID. I mean, it's done a lot of damage and such, but I think COVID has opened up a lot of people's eyes to just the simplicity that life can bring. It being simple can be the best thing that ever happened. Like, just like you said, looking at a sunrise or a sunset, but also setting the intention and making that a priority to do it every day. It's been very beautiful to see, because I've seen it in other people too, where it's like just being thankful for the little things.
Definitely.
Well, and Ashley, you've done nature baths too. So I saw you smiling when Julie mentioned that. Ashley
That's
loved
not my term, but as soon as I heard it, I'm like, I'm going to borrow that. I love that.
Gosh, yeah, like that was one thing COVID brought too, is I had a lot of extra time last year, and so I went hiking like almost every day for a while there, and it was amazing. And I will say it was like a nature bath, because I would come out so refreshed, so ready to take on anything. Like I had so much spirit in me, and I feel like I wish we had more access to it, especially like I live in Nashville, and luckily we're surrounded by a lot of trails, but some places aren't. And I sometimes wish that it was more accessible.
We've got some great parks there. And even as something as simple as like going down by the river, or, it doesn't have to be the same place all the time. And that's what I try to tell people too. Like, yes, it would be great if we all lived outside of national parks, but even just finding that local park for you, or just,
Right.
getting out to, right. Because we can also tend to be a culture, at least we were pre-COVID, where it's like all about, and this doesn't change how effective health-wise it can be to go to the gym and do your workout too. But how many times are we, on a treadmill when we're missing something else, and again, the treadmill is great when especially, I don't live in real winter. So a lot of my clients use the treadmill when they need to for training. But what I'm saying is, taking that time where it might even just be a walk after dinner, or getting out and just, making that time for yourself or for your family or whatever it is. And I do think you're right, Ashley. That's something that what I hoped is that people wouldn't lose that after the pandemic, right? Like I know we're still in it, but they wouldn't go, oh, that was great for that time. We had nothing else to do, but recognizing, the good things that they felt when they did those things, and keep them as part of their routine. And I am seeing some new runners that have come that started 2 years ago or a year ago. Yeah. I'm starting to get new clients that, and I always remind them, they're always like super giddy when I say this, but that their their training age is when you started running seriously, or training seriously for whatever that thing is. And so like these newer clients that might be my age, their running age is 2 or 1. And every time I say that, it's like they think I've made that up. And I'm like, no, you have not done the wear and tear on your body in that way for as many years as I have. So, so maybe again, that's maybe my move to the trails, is being mindful of, I want this to last as long as possible. And I've been really fortunate to not have the injuries, but to be able to, watch it take a new form for me in my life as well.
Trail running is something else. It's pretty cool. I went hiking at Mount LeConte last year in East Tennessee, and I ran into a group of trail runners there, and man, that was a hard hike. They were running it like nothing.
Yeah.
I wanted to just shake all of their hands. It was incredible, but it was very inspiring again, because I've thought about it too. I love running. Oh, I love hiking. I don't like running as much, but I think I would like running more if it was through the woods. And so I've got to figure out, I'm also clumsy. And that's the kicker, is I'm afraid of twisting ankles. So
well, when we get off the call, I'll have to tell you some good places to run in Nashville. I've run there. Yeah.
Perfect. Love it.
We have really nice parks here in Wisconsin, but I am on the treadmill in the winter because we have winter starting about December, and then it goes until about April.
Yeah.
So I do have yak tracks. I have things, but you wouldn't want to run on them. They're really for walking on the ice.
Yeah, I just experienced yak treks this past weekend in Snowmass in Aspen. Yeah, and yeah, well, I owned a pair when the 1 year I lived and coached in Colorado. And I remember as soon as I moved, giving those to someone like, I will never need these again. And now I'm kind of like, ooh, I need them again.
Are they shoes or like clip-on things?
You want to describe them, Robin?
Yeah, they go over the toe and then the heel. Some people actually have a little hook over the top too that goes over your arch of your foot. But in general, they're normally on boots and they just help you because sometimes you can't see. It's called black ice, which is a real thing. And
Oh, yeah.
sometimes you can't see it. So if you've got the yak track on, it helps stop you along the way. It's almost like wearing sand on your feet. It just stops you from moving forward.
So this last trip, I had only packed my running shoes. So I didn't take my hiking shoes because I didn't know I was I should have, when you're debating, like, do I take one normal pair of shoes? You should always take the extra pair of workout shoes. So it instantly converted my running shoes to hikers. Basically, I was able to hike in snow and mud and everything else.
That's
without flipping. Yeah.
So are you ready to talk about your latest achievement? You received a certification?
Yeah, so I've been working on, this has actually been new since coaching at 29029 also, is getting more into the mental performance coaching realm, which, to be honest, I'd always been doing as part of my training plans for clients anyways. Like my favorite part that I would always really look forward to. I love the training in the process and watching people be changed through that, but I love to talk race week, race strategy and fueling and race day prep and all of those things. And so, what I've realized during the pandemic, like a lot of people, is you can't be present in person all of the time, right? If I'm training you and you're in Wisconsin, or you and you're in Nashville, is we have to find creative ways to do things differently. And so I started moving more of my business online, and which also allows me to be more mobile and go to more of these other events, which I'm also loving. But really, it's just offering as a service something that I've been doing and I'm passionate about, and I think is what has enabled me to have a great career. But just starting to share that with others of all ages. So, like, for example, I have actually, I need to remember to text her after this call. High school potential future state champion tomorrow morning in cross country. Her team should win as well. And then to a collegiate athlete who has nationals coming up in a couple of weeks. And actually that one will be close enough. It's in Tallahassee this year, so I can go watch. So plan to do that. But I've been able to coach them virtually and not writing their training per se, because they're on teams that are already really good, where they've got a great training system, but just an extra layer of support for them. In the mental domain, which is I'm loving. Like, I can't believe I wasn't doing this sooner. But again, that's one of those things, like a plus that came out of having to pause and look at things differently. And okay, well, now I'm not getting to see as many people in person. Even though I'm in Florida, we weren't totally shut down like a lot of places were. There were still times we were really uncertain about meeting as a group or inside or anything like that. So I'm really excited about this, and I'm gonna be doing a lot more of that in 2022, and hopefully some more speaking to groups and things too, which I really love to do.
So how can people get a hold of you? On getstacked.com?
Yeah, getstacknow.com. It's Stackhouse Fitness. And yeah, on my Instagram is Stackhouse Strong. I am on Facebook, but my Instagram posts to that. So I don't actually I feel bad because sometimes someone will leave me a message there and I don't always see them. They get buried, probably much like an email that you never check. But anyway, all my information is on my website, and like I said, I'll be posting some new things there. I'm actually gonna be hosting a women's running and wellness retreat in Arizona in February, March timeframe. And that information will be coming out within the next week or so. So a lot of exciting things happening, but just, and that one I'll be partnered up with another 29029 coach who, Coach Emily. And she's a nutritionist, dietitian in California, and Pilates instructor. So we're going to combine forces to, have a women's wellness retreat, which we've both been wanting to do for a long time. So we're excited about that. So that will not be hiking a mountain a whole bunch of times, but it will be healthy and fun. And what I'm just looking forward to is meeting another great group of people. So.
And are you taking on new clients?
Yes, I am. Yeah. And like I said, a lot of those are virtual, training for everything from marathons and Ironmans are back on the schedule to really people working towards their first 5K. I have a lot of people training for turkey trots right now, really, because, some people are just kind of starting back with racing. And we use racing as an example. I mean, it doesn't have to be that, but I think what most people can relate to about that is that there is an end goal, and it puts like a deadline on there instead of just being like, I think I might take up running eventually, or I think I might start doing pickleball or whatever it is. It puts, a goal out there, and then you meet other people along the way that are working towards the same things. So and then, like I tell my trainees that I'm doing this mental performance coaching with, like, race day is, that's the fun day, right? You've done all the work already. So that's the day you actually get to show up and put on the special shoes and outfit. Hopefully not the yak tracks. But and really just shine and do what it is that you've been practicing day in and day out. So that's the special part.
I love the way you say that. It's the fun day, like that. Yeah. I'm going to start using that from now on. That's the cutest thing.
Yeah. If I have somebody who's, say, grown up in like dance or theater or something like that, they understand that, like, you've done all the preparation, you've done the dress rehearsal. Literally, it's just showing up and doing the play. It's the performance. And when you look at it like that, really, it takes a lot of pressure off too. And yes, some people's goals are they want to win their age group or run a PR or whatever it is. But I still think those things happen. I know they happen when you are running relaxed, when you are running with joy, when you have also enjoyed the process that got you to that line to begin with.
I've never heard it stated that way.
Yeah, running with joy. That's like its own thing in itself.
Yeah. My big thing this year has been like intentional joy. When I first heard that, I'm like, what does that mean? Doesn't joy just happen? Like, no, intentional joy, like the sunrises is one thing, but finding whatever that is for you that, and again, that doesn't mean every day is awesome or every day you feel great running or whatever it is, but that intentional joy, like, will remind you and will get you through the tough days or the tough periods, or the tough race, whatever it is. But yeah.
It has been an absolute pleasure speaking with you, Julie. Thank you very, very much for coming on.
What a beautiful way to end it.
Oh, thanks for having me. I really enjoyed talking with you guys. And yes, please keep in touch. And I would love to, Ashley, for you, recommend some good runs in your area. And I have not done a lot of running in Wisconsin, but but maybe I need to find a race there.
I think you do.
It is beautiful in the summer.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I'm sure I will be on another road trip next summer. So I just have to stop through that way.
I would love it.
All right. Well, thank you again. And to our listeners, stay awesome.
And keep reaching for your anything.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Yeah.